All right, last night, not a great night in Cincinnati.
Yeah, awful night.
So downtown crime is up dramatically this year, over last year, over the year before, over the year before. This is despite stepped up patrols. So what can you do to stop it? What solutions can be offered?
Yeah, first and foremost, last night was intolerable and inexcusable, and it cannot happen again. And enough is enough. We have tried a litany of both police and non-police strategies to get the violent crime and the unruly behavior under control, and yet the violence continues. We have announced that we will be addressing all of the issues surrounding both Fountain Square and Government Square, and that every single option is on the table, including we're pursuing deconcentrating routes at Government Square in order to get more of a control over the situation, which is dramatic. But in speaking with Andy at SORTA and also with their board chair, they are a strong partner at the table with us, helping us think through what changes are necessary, substantial changes, in order to protect the folks who want to use public transit but are intimidated because of bad actors. Second thing is we will have CDRT and SWAT on Fountain Square and Government Square starting at 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. During the work week in order to make sure that we have the visibility, but more than that, that they are empowered and responsible to proactively engage with any activity that might turn violent, that they are enforcing the law as it is written. Council 2 weeks ago just beefed up our loitering laws, particularly in those transit areas. And we're ultimately going to have to start jailing people. I mean, this is absolutely beyond the pale. It cannot continue, and we will take every action and leverage every strategy in order to demonstrate that this activity will not be tolerated.
So proactive policing is now in play.
Well, proactive policing was always in play, but the priority, very clearly for me, is that when unruly behavior is happening, our police officers are empowered and responsible to step in and de-escalate the situation before anything violent happens. We're also calling on all partners, whether it is the schools, whether it is SORTA, whether it is the prosecutor's office, et cetera, to partner with us in trying to understand why this violence is taking place right now in these specific areas, and how we can be more forceful in holding people accountable.
Are you willing to go with the broken windows theory?
Excuse me.
No, sure.
Go ahead.
Broken windows theory. It works. It just works.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do that?
You know, broken windows theory, not broken windows theory, I'm not interested in ideology. What I'm interested in is if someone is breaking the law, or if unruly behavior is likely going to turn violent, it is our expectation that those laws are being enforced and that we're holding people accountable. We cannot have gun violence in the very heart of our city, in one of our civic icons. We cannot have it. And so whether that is enforcement, whether that is more visibility, whether that is literally changing Government Square and the routes there, all of that is on the table, and we're working urgently to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Does that even include, like, people, you're allowed to have pot, it's legal, but you're not allowed to smoke it?
Yeah. Well,
so is that something that you're like, arrest them?
Absolutely, yes.
That's your message?
If they are breaking the law, we have to hold them accountable. And it's more than just that. There are so many, everybody has a gun, and it's impossible for police officers to know whether you're allowed to have a gun, whether you are a threat or not. And so we have to continue to strengthen our relationships with ATF to make sure that we're getting these illegal guns off of the streets, because so much of the violence is due to the fact that everybody has a gun, and small disagreements are turning into gunfights, which is completely unacceptable, and we have to stop that.
One of the biggest problems you have is as of 2 weeks ago or so, there are 400 empty beds at the Justice Center. So we're talking floors are empty there. 5 years ago, that was not the case. Mm-hmm. So you are the standard bearer in this city for the Democratic Party. You have Democrat judges who are not putting people in jail. What would you say to them?
So this isn't about politics, Tanya. This is about what is best for the city, and specifically the city residents. And I don't really care what political party you are part of. You are either part of the solution or you are part of the problem. And what is very clear to me is that the process for our justice system from detaining and arresting people all the way up to sentencing, has flaws. Part of the flaw is making sure that we as a city are giving the prosecutor's office all of the relevant information for them to make their case to the judge. The prosecutor has the appropriate staffing and has the appropriate experience to take that information and make an argument to the judge. And then ultimately the judge, whether they're Republican or Democrat, are making a good decision based on the facts in front of them. There has been a lot of conversation around the judges, but when you look at judges across the board, irrespective of party, the challenge is across the board. And part of the challenge is because of a lack of good information getting in front of them. Now, if judges are making bad decisions, I will absolutely be the first one to criticize and to encourage folks to hold them accountable. But right now, it does seem like every step of the way, we are not providing the relevant and best information for them to do their jobs. And that's across party lines. As mayor, it's my responsibility. This is not about pointing fingers or blaming other people. I'm responsible for public safety in the city, and the fact of the matter is, it is not safe enough, particularly downtown in the urban core. We can talk about the stats all we want. All of that is true. But most importantly, people don't feel safe coming downtown. And it's understandable if there are 2 shootings in Fountain Square and Government Square in the same week. It is completely unacceptable. And my commitment to them is, regardless of political party, regardless of elections coming up, we have to get that under control, and we will stop at nothing to do just that.
So you've said as early or as late as last week sometime during the debate, I believe, along the lines that perception is worse than reality of downtown. You stick with that?
But no, what I tried to articulate was that the stats say what they say, but people don't feel safe. Too many people don't feel safe downtown. And if we look at the stats, you're absolutely right. In the urban core, they are up. It doesn't matter to people that across the city we're seeing positive trends. And I think that's part of the reason why some of the times that idea is conflated. So let me be as clear as possible. Crime is up downtown, and that is unacceptable and intolerable, and we will do everything we can to fix that. In addition to that, what concerns me even more than the specific crime stats is how people are feeling, what people's perception of is downtown. Because if that isn't fixed, in addition to the actual crime stats, then that is a significant challenge for us long-term for our economic viability. How our downtown goes, and there's a lot of positive momentum, but how our downtown goes impacts not just the city, but the region's economy. That's why we have to work with so much urgency, and that's why, frankly, I'm so frustrated right now, Tanya, because we have been deploying strategies, and yet the violence persists. And so now we have to take substantial steps in order to potentially make drastic changes to what Government Square and Fountain Square looks like, the timing where kids are allowed there or not allowed there. That's why I'm putting on the table changing the enforcement of the youth curfew to even earlier, to something like 7 p.m., specifically in those areas, to give our police even more empowerment to get those kids out of the urban core.
I'm not saying they were leashed before, but are you essentially saying you're unleashing the police department?
No, they have always been responsible and empowered. I am saying now that we have to do this. No more excuses, no more pushing back. This is a public policy priority, and we have to work urgently. My expectation has always been the same, which is that they enforce the law as it is written, and that they are responsible and empowered to proactively intervene to de-escalate. I am reiterating that with urgency, because right now, too many folks don't believe that's happening. And I want to make it as clear as possible that that is the expectation today, that was the expectation yesterday, and it will continue to be the expectation for our police department.
With all due respect, a couple months ago, we were in a big news conference where that was the expectation then too. I mean, what more can be done to stop this?
What can be done is some of the steps that I've articulated, which is taking drastic steps in order to deconcentrate Government Square as a transit route hub. I will also reiterate that there is a whole litany of strategies that we've pursued. We've increased police presence at Government Square and Fountain Square. We've shut down the liquor store on Government Square and turned it into a surveillance hub. We've put violence interrupters on the square to interact with these kids and to de-escalate situations. And to your point, and to the community's point, and to my point, the violence persists. And so in order to make significant changes, we have to have everyone at the table, including SORTA, including the schools, to really say, look, this cannot continue to happen. And the confluence of events that have led us here are part of the challenge. And we have to pursue all of those strategies, whether it is reconsidering yellow buses for CPS, no matter what the cost is, whether it is deconcentrating routes, or whether it is having CDRT and SWAT in our civic spaces in order to increase both presence and enforcement. We're pursuing all of those things, and we're doing it urgently because we have to fix this right now.
One of our anchors reporters was downtown today doing a story on this, and 11:30 in the morning, there are school-age kids just hanging out downtown. This is a fundamental issue, right? We don't know that we can fix the core issue today. You've got to fix the crime issue. But what the fundamental issue seems to be, how do you fix the family? How do you go back and say, hey, mom and dad, you're not doing a good enough job?
I couldn't agree more. There is parental responsibility that is a huge, massive piece of this. There's personal responsibility. I have said previously and over again, I can't raise your kids. Cincinnati Police Department can't raise your kids. We have to have this conversation with our community about the truancy levels that are happening in CPS, about the challenges, the real crisis that we're having with youth violence. Tanya, so many kids have guns right now, and it is, particularly when they get into arguments, they are just not mature enough or old enough to handle those disagreements maturely. And so instead of that, they reach for a gun and engage in mortal violence. And that can't continue to happen. And that is a conversation that, yes, we have to have at the family level, but we also have to continue to have that conversation at all levels of government.
You talked about truancy, though, and as I understand it, juvenile court has stopped pursuing truancy as a crime. So it used to be that parents would get in trouble if their kid missed so many days, and they have washed their hands of that. I mean, could you ask them to, hey, we need to get on truancy again?
Look, all options are on the table. I'm not an expert in the juvenile court. I'm the mayor. I have my own responsibilities and jobs. But as I mentioned at the top of this interview, all of the relevant parties need to be at the table with me and need to put forth solutions in order to get this under control. Whether it's truancy or any other issue, everything's on the table, and I will be pursuing whatever I need to pursue in order to stop the violence.
Brittany Ruby put out a statement half hour or so ago, and essentially she and other business members they're fed up. Essentially, they've had enough. What can you say to them right now?
I understand your frustration. I feel the frustration too. I've had enough. Enough is enough. We have to get this under control. A piece of that is absolutely enforcement, which is why we have CDRT and SWAT on patrol starting today in the afternoons. It's why we had bike patrol. It's why we have police officers on Government Square right now. Visibility is one thing, but what we need right now is enforcement. And so again, what I'm clearly stating to the community and also to our police officers is that they are empowered and responsible to knock this stuff off. And if they have to arrest people, then we need to arrest people.
You have said multiple times in this interview that you want all the parties involved, whether that's judges, prosecutors, police, everyone, social workers, to come to the table and work with you. When will you let us know if they have or have not, or will you?
Yeah, I've already started sending out messages last night and this morning to the relevant parties to bring them into my office to have this conversation. Of course, I will report out to you. What is very important to me, one of the biggest learnings that I've had over the summer, is we need to be communicating more often and more effectively with the public. And this incident last night is a perfect example of us taking those learnings from the summer, having a press conference later today, explaining to the public everything we know about the shooting and the investigation and all of the steps that we are pursuing in order to make sure it doesn't happen again. In addition to that, the follow-up meetings that we will be having with all of the relevant parties, including SORTA, just on the phone with Andy, the executive director, right before this interview, we will be reporting out all of that work as well.
We're down 200 police officers. I know that you guys are trying to get more recruit classes in. At this point, in this moment, and kind of going back to what we've been talking about previously, I know that, like, I think Senator Moreno has offered, do you need money to provide incentives and bonuses to get people in the door? Are you open to, like, or are you willing to, at this point, say, okay, we got to get 200 officers, like, now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that has been our approach. And let's understand why we're here. Because previous councils, some of whom want to be back on council, decided to underfund the recruit classes. Over time, that lack of clarity and financial prioritization of our complement has left this council and I with this decreased amount of complement. That's why we have invested in recruit classes every single year we've been in office. In fact, some of the years, more than one recruit class in order to catch up. That's why we negotiated a FOP contract that is the most generous in the last 40 years, because it's one thing to get them into the police force, it's another thing to retain them. And good benefits and good salaries are critical to that. And that's why we have partnered with the Blue Line Foundation to build a mental health facility, because part of the reason it's hard to retain police officers is because their job is very hard, they're highly scrutinized, and they're dealing with trauma every single day. We are taking a full approach to deal with this issue, even so much as going to a public-private partnership, working with our business community, many of whom have extraordinary recruitment efforts to leverage their expertise and work with our police department to better recruit and better communicate those opportunities. But, you know, particularly as we now have a new normal of police officers walking a beat, a new normal of enforcing the youth curfew. Those things will not go away next year. These are not Band-Aids, these are the new normal, and we need more police officers in order to enforce those policies.
I really have two other things. One, state help. Is there any need at this point to increase it?
We are increasing it on a daily basis. So we have taken all of the governor's help that he has offered, and we have made it clear to him that we are interested in Highway Patrol being in our city even more than was articulated in his letter. We've had a couple of joint operations already. They've been wildly successful. I've directed the chief and instructed her to continue to accept that help and to increase that help. You know, part of the challenge here, Tanya, is our complement of officers is what it is, and we're working hard on that. But we have been asking them to work an extraordinary amount this summer, both the weekends and the nights, and doing things that they haven't usually done, like getting out of their squad cars and engaging with the community on walking beats. That has been a huge toll on our police officers. So having the Highway Patrol not only helps us with enforcement, but it also helps us with numbers, as many of our police officers are starting to get burned out.
Yeah, so I mean, having Ohio State Highway Patrol come down and patrol, would that?
Everything is on the table, absolutely. If the chief thinks we need Highway Patrol doing visibility, particularly on Fountain Square and Government Square, then we need to do that. This is a situation where it's all hands on deck. We are really grateful, frankly, for the governor's leadership, and happy to deepen that relationship or expand it. But again, Tanya, 2 shootings on Government Square and Fountain Square and a fight within a week is unacceptable and cannot happen. And I will partner with anyone of any party at any level of government in order to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Finally, this is the last 4 years since you've been in office of crime. That number's gone up every year you've been in office. What do you say to that?
I say that it is unacceptable, that it is a problem, and that I take full responsibility. I'm the mayor, it's on me. But what I want to communicate to the public is that I very clearly understand that this is the biggest challenge facing our city, and we will stop at nothing to correct it.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. I do. Thanks.